Welcome back, friends. We have a short, fun FAQ style episode today with Kimo all around the Rebuild program. So if that's something you've been looking at, something you're interested in, whether you've seen it on the email or you've seen it on the social or you've talked about it in clinic, today we're going to answer some questions. Kimo, what's up, my friend? How are you?
I'm doing great, thanks. Just
Awesome.
hanging out, living the dream.
Living the dream. Kimo is, of course, our resident movement mug. He is a guru and expert in all things movement related. And just recently, we've rolled out our new program called Rebuild. And we've talked about this in a lot of different ways. We have a whole podcast on it. But if somebody basically sat you down and they were like, give me the elevator feel where we're having cocktails at the bar or whatever, what is the Rebuild program? How would you describe it?
Yeah, basically, it's an individualized fitness program. I hate using the word fitness because it's turned into such a garbage catch-all, but it's a program to improve and discern all the different things about a person's biomechanical movement. So a lot of times my personal training clients have been people that have biomechanical deficiencies and they're looking to get those cleaned up. And they also have multiple goals. So they want strength, endurance, they want capability, they want fat loss, they want to feel good, they want to sleep good, they want to learn about themselves. All those things are what gets encompassed with it. So basically, the way to start looking at it is one is like fantastic. Somebody has an interest in working on their fitness. So what does that look like? And it can look like a whole bunch of different things. And so the way that I like to start with the program with somebody is just look at their movement. So it's all about meeting a person where they're at, working with what you got. So a lot of times people are like, oh, I'm going to work with a trainer, so I should go hit the gym for several months before to get ready for this trainer. And that kind of is synonymous to the person doing their hair before they go to their stylist, or go cleaning your house really good before your house cleaner comes. So we're supposed to see the raw package and what we have to work with, and they go from there.
Yeah, I love that. That's a great analogy of doing your hair before you go see the stylist. So on one hand, we would say, hey, Rebuild is for anyone really looking for a personalized, holistic, comprehensive approach to getting fit, whatever fit might mean for them. So we would say, hey, if you're interested in strength, mobility, resiliency, and you're just looking to create a healthier, more powerful, more expressive movement of your physical self, then this is a great program for you. Now, on the other side of the coin, we've talked somewhat on the podcast about this, that Rebuild is also great for people who have been going through some type of a physical therapy type thing, whether that's you've got injured and you've actually been in physical therapy, or you've just on your own, you've had some injuries, some wear and tear. Maybe you're in your 30s, your 40s, and your 50s. You have some problem areas. Maybe you're starting to come into some limitations, some challenges, or you're just not feeling like yourself again. So talk to me a little bit about Rebuild from the perspective of a person who maybe has gone through some physical therapy or has been coming into the clinic. I had to tell them, going through our methodology, they've seen tremendous improvement. How does Rebuild fit into that journey?
Yeah, so it's a perfect segue from a post-PT rehab scenario, or a transfer from a clinical rehabilitative program into the next levels of repair. From that clinical side of it, most of the times, every time, a person's going to be cut off from insurance before they're all the way ready. And so the insurance guys are deeming how ready a person is, what is applicable, what isn't applicable, be it they're not doctors or physios and don't really, they're just looking at different coding and looking at it from a different perspective. It's the way to ensure that your injury is going to be fully repaired and fully integrated into the rest of your whole movement system. And this whole program is really based off of strict movement diagnostics, analytics, and then reformulating programs based on the evolution of that rehab. So the 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 movement is the test and the test is the movement. So you go through different screening processes, and initially I start with a gait assessment. So that tells me a whole bunch about what's not happening. Then we break down the squat mechanic, both two normal things that have to happen every single day. And so if you can't do those without hurting yourself, walk or squat, there's going to be problems. And so really breaking down those biomechanics, pointing out the findings, and then reorganizing the structure, reorganizing the organization of that structure. So it turns into more like a neural rewiring, neural blueprinting program, so that we can get the parts of the body to activate at the times that we want them to, versus when they end up just firing based on compensatory movement patterns. So the brain will realize a movement is needed to be performed. Maybe it'll do a quick check-in on who's warmed up and ready to go. And if somebody's sleeping on the bench, they'll just let them sleep, and it'll create a compensatory movement pattern to get the gross motor movement done. And that's okay for a little while, but then over time, the guy that's sleeping is really going to cause a lot of problems for everybody else that's there ready to work, because then they're working double to make up for this other person that's slacking. And so it's identification of that slacker and then bringing them online. And then also looking at the guys that are really exhausted from working too hard and doing too much extra work, and getting those guys to relax, deactivate, so that we can balance out the movement through that whole kinetic chain, that whole movement systems. And then start looking at even greater component of the fitness part of it is then, after a person can control their body through movement and space, then is when you should start externally loading somebody, adding weight to their body. So it's a real step-by-step process where we're peeling down the layers of the onion and then putting it all back together. We have just a big, strong, cohesive unit.
I love it. So that's a really great answer for a person who might be wondering, hey, how is this different? How is it personalized? You just walked us through. Really, there's a lot of different components. There's actually a blog post that will be out probably the same time that this comes out or slightly after. And it's really about the science behind the Rebuild program. And in that blog post, it's a deeper dive into the different technical and scientific therapies, techniques, approaches, philosophies that Kimo has incorporated. But he's talking about neuromuscular re-education, the fascial system, proprioceptive training, progressive overload, functional movement patterns, periodization, all this cool stuff. All of it goes into, because you just really explained really well, is that it just rebalances, brings everything online, gets you in that spot where your whole body's functioning the way it's supposed to, and you're moving the way you're supposed to. Now, with that in mind, when we think about just a typical rebuild session, what does that look like? How long is a session? How often are sessions? Like, help me understand the program dynamics a little bit.
Yeah. So you access it through, it's based on your ability to get yourself there. So it could be a 1 time a week, a 2 time a week, a 3 time a week. So there's many contributing factors to consider: economics, time. Those are the 2 primary ones. Figure out what you can buy in at, figure out what you can afford time-wise relative to what is your real capacity of doing your homework and doing it well, not just slapping through that homework, and you have complete focus while you're doing these things. So knowing yourself is a big part of it. If you already know that you've been training for a long time, you're an athlete, or even just a person who's fit and has a good background in it, and that you're motivated, you have the desire to do your homework and get those extra workouts. 1 time a week could be something good, but then also sometimes that's all you can really bring to the plate based on finances and time, is 1 time a week. And obviously that's gonna be better than nothing, but having the capacity to do that homework is going to only make you get closer to your goal set. And then either realizing that you're not going to get it done on your own, that might be your prompter for hitting 2 to 3 times a week, or realizing that what the biggest difference you're noticing within working together versus working on your own is you just get so much more work done in so much more of an efficient way with together that it's totally worth it. Even if you do have the driving experience to train 2 to 3 times, because there's still more days in a week to get it on your own. And then,
I love
so
it.
those are things to consider. And then come making a go online to the clinic email address or website, and you go down to the book now section, and you can find me in there. And then you can reserve a time slot for a complimentary 30-minute evaluation. So that's the biggest thing then, is locking down a time slot, providing accessibility. And then we get you in here. And so that first appointment would be 30 minutes. And so we're hanging out, getting to know each other a little bit, talking about physical history, personal history, seeing if we have a good fit. Then we would go into movement screening. So, do the gait assessment. Observing you in gait tells me a whole bunch about what's not going on. And we compare that to what is supposed to happen. And that instantly provides a starting foundation for what we need to clean up. Then we go break down your squat mechanic and see how you're moving, how you're organizing your movement, what shapes you're falling into, and then dissect those. And then that's another layer of strategy to implore upon that person. And then so I like to start by trying to correct the bad biomechanics, explain and teach about it. So it's not just do these because I say so. I'm going to really get into describing the rationale and of what's going on. So you have an understanding of what is going on within your body, the way that it moves, why that could be happening, why certain things hurt. And then with that understanding, you're going to have a greater propensity to your homework on their own, because you're like, you get it, instead of my trainer has me do a bunch of these and a bunch of these and a bunch of these. I'm not sure what they do, but it's pretty cool. I don't know. So a big part of it is education. So I want to really teach you movements you're not familiar with, teach you things about your body that you're not familiar with, the way that it functions, and then expand your base there. And so it's about building a bigger toolbox. And so this toolbox is just going to grow and grow and grow. And so you'll learn about how to take care of your tools. That's the biggest thing, is that muscular maintenance and getting in and making sure you're getting the tire pressure checks, you're getting the oil change, you're checking your transmission fluid, all those things, so that you're setting yourself up for success, so that we can really hit the ground running and get stuff going. And then after that, we would go into working with the findings, unraveling that ball of snakes. And then we would start layering in core stability strength. So the core stability strength is really the most important thing, because you can only produce as much force as you can stabilize, and you can only decelerate as much force as you can stabilize. So really that's the make or breaker. It's like having a hot rod motor with rusty motor mounts, and this thing's got this brand new and it's got 12,000 horse or whatever. And it's got so much torque, it's just going to rip itself out of the undercarriage of your car. So we have to really have a strong attachment for our motor drive to the chassis. And that's what that core stability strength is going to provide. And then we start layering on that, looking at multiplanar movements. So there's 3 planes of movement in that we go through, and we're accelerating, stabilizing, and decelerating through these 3 planes of movement simultaneously every time during the day. So we need to prepare the body for different loads, different vectors, so that we can keep everything going together and not get hurt doing regular life stuff, because that's not cool. And then the probably one of the things that makes me the most aggravated for myself personally is getting hurt in the weight room, because I'm not paying attention to all the things that are going on. You're trying to get better in the weight room, and getting hurt in there is really frustrating. So being careful about your loading, the periodization that you're following, and being able to be flexible, being able to teach a person how to listen to their body when it's whispering, identify what's going on, circumvent that situation, reorganize the workout immediately, and then be able to come back and address what that problem is, but make sure that we're not getting hurt training. So safety is a huge thing, because it doesn't do anybody any favors to get so destroyed that you can't or don't want to show up the next time because it was just too much for where you're at. So
much
then we start.
intensity, yeah, too much volume, too much weight,
All those.
whatever. And then you end up in a worse spot.
Yeah, all those things. And then we'll start after we get a good foundation of strength that kind of gets blended into or a good core foundation of core. We're going to be blending strength movements into that, balance movements into that, and all along with this multiplanar theme.
And that kind of goes into then the personalization, right? So to break that down, summarize, starts with a complimentary 30-minute assessment. And in that assessment, you really look at two of the biggest fundamentals of movement, walking and squatting. And from there, you deconstruct it and lay out for a person what your findings are based on that initial observation, and give them a sense of what their personal plan could look like if they wanted to move forward with the build program. So it's really a no risk way to understand and get some expert insight and advice on how you're moving and what some of your core issues might be. And then to get a sense of what working with you would be like if you were to then move into their personalized plan, right? So they'll get a taste of that. And then if they were like, you know what, I'm in, then you probably go to work on mapping out that initial stage. And as you're saying, then it will go into some of these other fundamentals around core. And then from there, progressively expand into the other areas as they're making progress, right? Always tuned into what they can handle, into the right load at the right time, the right intensity at the right time, the right pace of growth, along with education, homework, some awesome stuff they can be working on their own. So this is one part, this expertly guided part of their program. And then they're able to go out and do some of the other stuff they need to do on their own. So it's not like they're tied to you. They have to work out 7 times a week with you or whatever. It's like, if you depending again on your time, how much support you want, your budget, your resources, you might want to come in and see Kimo. You want to see 3 times a week, or maybe it's just a once a week or twice a week kind of thing. All very, very beneficial, all great. So let me ask this then, Kimo, when a person's thinking about how long should I be thinking about this program? And I know in many cases you've had clients that have worked with you continuously for years. It just becomes part of their ongoing routine, their ongoing maintenance, their ongoing self-development. But let's say if a person is looking at it like, hey, I want to work with a trainer for a certain period of time. Generally speaking, what's like the minimum time a person should be thinking in terms of how long they'd want to be in the program? And then what's the average that you see?
Yeah, I don't think a person should really even look at it that way. You need to go with it as it's going. Look at professional athletes. They're the best in the world and they still are working with trainers. And they, if anybody, would have the capacity to do these things on their own, but it just depends on your goals. If you want to keep making sure you're going in a straight line, you're going to have another set of eyeballs on you. At a minimum, like this program, it's a 3-month sign up. Like it takes that long just to get some traction. So from there, it's really when a person starts to almost get traction. So 6 months, 8 months, 9 months might be something that where you could get like a pretty good feeling of what you have going on, but there's still so much to explore on that time frame. So I have a lot of people do start off the draft, like I'll do X amount of sessions for X amount of time. And then we get there and we're just like, they start to realize like, whoa, I'm just starting to scratch the surface of what I got going on here. And so then it ends up being 5 times that length. And pretty much my previous client retention was anywhere from 10 to 18 years consistently working with people. So it does fall, it just gets integrated into their whole program. So
What's cool about that?
It depends on the person.
Cool about that. Exactly. It depends on the person. You could be thinking, hey, as a minimum, it's a 3-month kind of intro process. And that really is
like
more
a person going, how little can I work to get to my goals? That's the mindset that's coming into it. If I'm worried about how long even considering how long I should be doing it, you're already trying to get out of it.
But to be, hey, I'm the other side of that devil's advocate. I'm always like a lazy man. I'm like, if you can give me the shortcut and it's this, I'm always open to hear that. But I think it's good to know that the program can be fitted for you. So if you need less work, it might be 3 months. But what most people find, I think your point here is really good. What most people find is they get into whatever initial target they've set for themselves. I'm going to do this for 6 months, 9 months. I'm going to do this for a year. I'm going to do this. That oftentimes they get to that spot and they want to keep going because they're getting so much benefit from the program, right? And they're unlocking new levels of insight, movement. It's like, this is awesome. So know that the program can grow with you. And that for many people, it's something they stay with long term because they want to. And that's an option, which is really, really cool. You're not going to kick you out after 3 months if you want to keep going, which most likely you will.
Definitely. I've worked with other trainers where like their goal is, I want to work you through the least amount of time to provide self-efficacy so you can get it on and do it on your own. But I don't really see value in that. I'm going to be friends with you. You meet a new person and you like him and I'm just going to be friends with you for about 3 to 6 months because that's all the time I have for you. And then I'm going to move on. It has to be organic and that's really how the really best things develop is organically.
I love it. Well, Kimo, thank you for breaking this down in real specifics. I think it's really insightful. I think for people who are looking at the Rebuild program, it's a great resource. If you want to learn more about it, read through it, you can go to rebuildwithkimo.com. This podcast will be linked there. You can re-reference it there. Of course, this will be on Spotify, Apple, if you're listening now, or on the website. Also, we'll have some more blog posts about it on the Toe site, and be looking for continued great stuff from Kimo on our social. And if this is something that you're considering, I would highly, highly, highly recommend you schedule that complimentary session with Kimo. Get that movement gait assessed, get that squat analysis, get your personalized program kind of set up so you have an idea what it would look like. And I think what you're going to find is that session is so valuable that you're just ready to go. You're like, oh my God, this is awesome. Like, I want more of this.
Yeah. And really that first appointment is really the appointment has some of the greatest value because it's that assessment. We're figuring out what's going on. And a point that I always try to make sure that I'm doing is giving something for the person to take with them and apply from that meeting moving forward. So just not only just the diagnosis, if you will, of what's going on, but then giving you some tools to help with that right away, right from the beginning. I feel really strongly about that and want to really set everybody up for success. And I'm down to play. But if for whatever reason can't right now, that's okay too. It's all good. But the biggest thing after that first appointment is I want to give you valuable information and some tools to take with you to start using immediately.
I appreciate you being on the show. I thank you for the awesome work that you're doing at the clinic, and for all those out there who are listening, thinking about the Rebuild program. The answer is yes, you should do it. Absolutely sign up, get in, come see Kimo. It's going to be a blast. Kimo, until next time, we will catch you on the next episode. Remember, movement is the best medicine.